This is a short tutorial on using the Microsoft Web Browser OCX control in APL. For this example, we will use Dyalog APL, which supports OCX controls easily. First, we must understand the difference between a Windows form and a form presented in a browser. In Windows, forms usually consist of elements of a size whose position and size vary according to the form size. For example, here is a standard form with a single button, which is resized as we resize the form. Here is another form, still with a single button, but this time the button and its caption are cropped if we exceed the button's position. In contrast, an element presented in a browser object will adjust to the resizing conditions. Here is an example. See how the text is adjusted to be always visible, and that even scrolling bars appear when necessary if the element cannot be seen completely. Let's see how to do this. For this, we only need an instance of the OCX control and the form to contain it. Here, class UI1, which is based on the form, will make use of it. The OCX control, like a real browser, takes input from an HTML file, and we must provide the control with such a file. The UI1 class also uses an HTML file, which we define here as being in the temp folder. Upon creation of the form instance, we will set its caption and its size and its position, open the file, and put some text in it. Here we use a property to set the text in the file, but it could have been done with regular function. We then create an instance of the OCX control, reset its coordinates to occupy the entire form surface, and we generate an event to force the control to read the file. Let's see it in action. Let's trace through function start. Function start ensures that the OCX control exists. Because the name of the control comes in two varieties, we try one and then the other upon failure. We then create an instance of the form and wait on it. Here, the argument to start must be a class based on the form. Of course, it doesn't have to be that way, and creating a form here, doing everything the class does, would work as well. This is just an example using a namespace or a class to encapsulate the code. Let's have a look at it. Now, this form is not very useful as it is, and it should normally contain elements of interactions like links and buttons. The OCX control supports only one event called navigate to, which is triggered when an HTML element href, for example a button, is clicked. Let's see a second example which will make use of that. Class UI2, just like class UI1, is based on a form, and it uses a file in the temp folder for the OCX control. It is used to update a list of tasks which, for the example, we will keep in variable DB notes in the workspace. DB notes can be viewed as a small table whose records contain two fields, one with the text in column 1, the other to signify if it should be shown in column 2. Initially, they're all supposed to be shown, and it will look like this. The constructor of UI2 does the same as UI1, plus it associates a handler for the event navigate to, and then it calls refresh to show the form contents. Function refresh contains the code to generate the HTML text for the OCX control. It is based on the contents of variable DB notes. For each task, it displays its text and adds a couple of buttons. One to hide the task, and the other to edit the text of the task. Note that the href value of the buttons uses a special JavaScript syntax that is very important to follow. When the HTML text is built, it puts it on file, then generates an event that will trigger the updating of the form. The form should look like this. We can see there are buttons to hide and edit. There's another button here that should reset all the show bits to 1. When the user clicks on one of the buttons, the OCX control calls the callback function associated with event navigate to. It is important to realize that there's no web server involved here, and that the callback is made to the function locally. Here we use function hn2 to handle the case. hn2 receives several arguments when called. The fourth one of which is of interest to us, as it contains the URL of the link we just clicked. In our case, it's a simple string to decide what we want to do. If the string is hide, we use the number that follows hide as a row in DB notes to set its show bit to 0. It won't be shown anymore. If the string is show, we reset the show bit of all the tasks to 1. Finally, if the string is edit, we create a new APL form to edit the task. This shows that both types of forms can coexist easily. Finally, after having done all this, we refresh the page again. Let's try it. If we click on hide of task number 1, it disappears. If we click on another one, it disappears. If we click on edit of that one, we can now edit the name, and we will now change it to task XYZ. Save it, and as you can see now, the text has been changed again. If we reset all the bits, they're all shown. That's it. That was only a short introduction to the Microsoft Web Browser OCX control. There is more to it, but that should get you going. Enjoy.